Einen wunderschönen guten Abend. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just figuring out we're in the wrong language. We are in English tonight. As usual, I'm a little bit nervous if you can see me and if you can hear me well. Vimeo always makes me nervous, I'm used to Zoom and there I have a direct communication with all the participants and the speakers. And on Vimeo that is so different that I always would like you to just give me a short thumbs up and say that you can hear me. Tonight I have been inviting you to discuss a little bit or to just share with you my story and a few stories or a few case studies and stories about my horses and horses I am working with. Let's see how far we are coming in 1 hour. We can always continue next time. Rane, you are here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. So we are discussing that a little. And there's always more to tell. So basically, I would like to introduce my ponies to you, or two of my ponies at least, and tell you a little bit about my biography and the lenses we are looking at things and why I am doing things today the way I am doing that, and also why I have been setting up the masterclass in the way we are doing it and what we can expect when we are going down that road. I don't want to lose too much time. You're always welcome to ask questions in the chat. I will also try to monitor them. And if we are running a little bit delayed, then it is like this. So this, therefore I have called tonight's presentation the Despino story, because Despino is now 21 or 22 years. I don't want to think about it. He's young and fresh. And I would like to talk to you a little bit about his story first, because he's a horse that is in my company, or whose company I am enjoying now for the longest period of time, and who has been also shaping my perspective of things very much. He was not my first horse, but he is a horse that is with me now since 20 years and who has a big influence on my development. This is a picture from, I think, last autumn. That I like very much. It's a very nice school hold from him, very nice round upper line. And in the preparation for tonight, I've been searching from youngster pictures from him, and that I sadly didn't find, because if you would have seen him as a youngster, you would have seen a horse with 3 very unstraight legs. So the left front leg turned in and the hind legs in, going in all directions. And you would have seen a horse with a very high wither, steep shoulder, and a little hollowness behind the shoulder, also due to the steep wither. And this is also the way we are explaining it. I can also tell you how Despino came into my life. When I was lately posting about his story, it was very nice, because some of my very old colleagues that I've been meeting 20 years ago, the last time when I got Despino, have been commenting on it. It would be a pleasure if you're listening to that now, because we traveled really a long road. So the reason why Despino and I met was I had a very fantastic little Pierre gelding before. He was super nice, super round. If you have been joining the Train Your Eye series with Anya that we had 2 years ago, there were a couple of shows where Anya had this little white Camargue horse with her, and she always says, "This is an unbreakable horse." I had one of them before. It was just a Pierre. Was a Pierre gelding. He was sharing my life from age 10 to 18, so his age 10 to 18. And if I didn't do things really wrong, that was basically good enough for him to do all the exercises. He was really good in collecting, had a little bit problems with extending the frame. But he was really good in piaffe. He was really good with the idea of passage. He was doing nice canter changes. He was also a nice all-rounder. We could go for hours into the forest and just canter, and also canter uphill. And we had little runs with my dog, together with the dog that I had at this time. So we really had a good time together. But he was always sick. He was already sick when I got him. He had reoccurring colics. And I have been doing everything I could at that time. I mean, I was barely 20 years old, so that was also at the very start of my career. I think when I got him, I was 16. Yeah, something around 16, 17 when I met him. And when he died, I was somewhere in the start of my 20s. So, let's say my expertise and experience was limited. And but still, I tried my best within my limitations. And then I started an internship at a vet hospital in Germany. And I worked then at the unit for colic surgery and emergencies. Internistic, we say in German. Very sadly, after working there for 3 days, we had the typical colic weather, and the horse that was brought in the night shift into the emergency unit was my own one. That was pretty shattering. And to make a long story short, he didn't make it. We had to put him down after 3 days because he was so much in pain, and there was basically no hope. We took a punctat. We had a look into his stomach, and we saw that the stomach was already ruptured, and that there was food in the thumb, in the barrel, basically, and that is the end. So there is that is beyond the point of no return. So we had to put him down for saving him from more suffering. And I was shattered. I was just shattered. That was my heart horse, my soul horse. We have been doing everything together. That was the horse that was guiding me on my journey into the academic art of riding. That was the horse where I had my first successes with, where I had my first shows with. And that was a horse that I definitely didn't want to let go, and still I had to. So after losing Montana, I was searching eventually for another horse because I had already signed up for 2 more internships after the internship that I was doing there in the vet hospital. So with a long perspective forward, I knew I would need another horse, and I would need a horse that is trainable in exactly a year from now, or 1.5 years from now, when I would go to Hamburg and start my internship there. And then I was looking around and stumbling over a few horses, and where my heart got stuck was Despino. And Despino was that was also the reason why I picked him. So it was a very aware choice. This horse, the reason why I picked him was that he was exactly the opposite of my PRE before, simply because my heart was so broken and aching that I couldn't manage to get another PRE for the PRE that I had lost. And I also didn't just want to interchange them. I wanted to, close one chapter and open a new chapter. And then I was a little bit arrogant because I thought I need to just find a difficult horse, because if I am a good enough trainer and a good enough rider, I can fix it. I also like you see, I was really young. Yeah, we need to forgive me because I was really young. I think I hope at least that we all have phases in our life where we have this feeling of being invincible and unbeatable and just the best in what we are doing. Today, I'm trying to be kind with myself when I'm looking at that version of me. So I was looking around, and the horse that was really challenging and also payable, that was Despino. And Despino was at that time 2.5 years old, and already when the breeder took him out of the box, he was behaving like a stupid idiot. And he didn't want to be touched. He didn't want to be led. He was living there with a farmer who was, I think, each year buying a couple of foals, and then selling them on when they were 3 or 4 years old and always keeping the best one. Despino stayed too small, what I thought would be perfect for me. He was just 1 meter 50 something. He's 156 now. He grew pretty long. At that time, he was 151 or something. That was perfect for me. I don't like them when the horses are so big. But for the breeder, this was too small. So I was allowed to buy him pretty cheap. He was nearly running over me in the first meeting that we had. And was still a little stallion, of course. And I thought that just with enough care and love and everything, the problem would solve itself. And a part of that did. We have to be honest, a part of that did. But we also have to say that he really behaved like a stupid idiot. When I took him to the vet hospital where I was working at that time, Chris, if you are here, forgive me. We had to take him there and castrate him. And Chris, she was the lady who had to deal with anesthetics at that point in time, and she was nearly killing herself when she was trying to give him the shot because he got really aggressive. Yeah, so today I would phrase it differently. Today I would say the horse didn't get aggressive. He was just very busy with protecting his body. And he was so busy with protecting his body and not trusting humans that he was simply trying to put everybody that was moving too fast in his box into a corner. And at that time, I thought it was a little bit funny or interesting because I could deal with it. I had good enough horsemanship skills that I could deal with this. The horse was trusting me. The horse wasn't killing me. What I did not see was there was an underlying problem, and the problem was deeper than just having a young horse, basically. And that the horse was protecting his body out of the reason of pain. So we castrated him, and eventually I started my journey into internships, and we educated him. We had a little bit of trouble in getting him ridden. We had trouble or he was not so happy in accepting the saddle at the start. He was not so happy of being launched. My instructor at that time, she always said that we are very happy when this horse is finally a riding horse because he really hated everything on the ground. Worse on the left side than on the right, but in general, he hated everything that we did there. The moment I was getting up, it was nearly a relief for him, and he was much more cooperative, but still things continued to be difficult. I always found a solution. I'm actually a quite good rider. I always found a solution, and I'm also a quite good pedagogue. So I found a solution that was sustainable and that was including the horse and including the mind, and we could make things a little easier. I continued also my journey into the academic art of riding, which was also definitely a good thing, because if academic art of riding has a very strong point, the strongest point of the art of riding is building things up around the horse as a student. And whatever kind of problem the horse is bringing along, we are trying to bend the system long enough until we are finding a solution for the horse, for this horse, basically. And then we are trying to educate horse and student. In this case, I was a student, with a horse-centered perspective, basically. What I didn't see was still that in general, a horse should not be angry, and a horse should not be, not have trouble being handled from different people. But that was simply my lack of experience. And as I said before, I think it was also my ego that really liked it, that the horse, that I got the feeling that he's choosing me, he's picking me, I am his person, I can do things with him and other people can't. What I was not aware of at that time was that horses are yeah, on the one hand, it's of course relationship and also the bound, if we have a bound, but the bound in between human and horse that are important. And on the other hand, that horses are very often suppressing pain signals, especially with their primary caretakers, out of loyalty or out of different reasons that we can have a look at maybe later. So things were going forward, but we could always see it was not a magnificent horse. So as you can see here, he was building up his top line quite nicely. He also didn't have this prominent wither anymore after a period of training, but he never had a very much movability in his front legs, for example, and also for most periods in his life, he was dragging his hind feet after himself. And research was not so far at that point as we are today. Today, we can clearly say if a horse is dragging the feet behind, this is a pain signal. This is a signal of discomfort. At this time, we didn't know better. The horse was negative in bending tests. The horse was negative in all other veterinarian tests. We simply were treating it like a bad or a horse that needed more training. And that was what we did. As I said, I'm luckily not a completely untalented rider and pedagogue. And we were trying with bending of the haunches to supple up his hind feet and to get more movability, and especially for all collected movements, that also worked. What still was the case was, for example, that the horse had trouble in canter, building up endurance in canter. He was often falling into a lateralization then. What also happened is the picture before here, that was in Sweden. There I was living with my friend and colleague Hanna Engström and was working for and with her. They had a very good period in his life. And when I moved from there back to Germany after, Hannah, how long was I staying with you? 3 years, a little bit longer. After 3 years, he was significantly losing condition and fitness. That was really significant. Once to the fantastic living conditions that we had in Sweden with the horses. They have just, Hannah has a huge land and the horses can freely roam and move in the forest, and it's really magnificent. She also has a magnificent riding facility. I'm doing here some advertisement for you, Hannah. I hope you're hearing that. She has a magnificent riding facility, so you can have continuity in the training and so on. So the horses and riders are really having their best lives there. And I think he got everything he needed, more or less. That was also before the times of climate change. So the ration, the protein level in the ration was not so difficult yet as it is nowadays. So he was with a good basic normal horse ration. I thought, he's doing fine. And at that time, it was still true. When the horses had free access to hay, they couldn't run into deficiency. But then we moved back to Germany, and something had changed after the move. And I couldn't say what it was, but somehow everything got worse, and significantly worse compared to Sweden. And I could not really put a finger on it because we haven't had these hundreds of hectares of fields, but we still had good living conditions. He was standing together with his mare in a small group. It was stable, no changes, stable environment, 24-hour feeding. Additionally to that, they were going out on summer and winter fields. He had a play group of boys with that he was playing. So we did the very best within our opportunities, and he had regular health care. So, regular treatment, regular osteopathy. And still things were going down. And I couldn't understand at that point of time why they were going down. And what actually started first was that he started dragging his hind feet heavily and he got slow. So everything got slow. The whole horse The whole movement was getting slow and stiff. And whatever I did was getting worse. Did I train more? It was getting worse. Did I train less? It was getting worse. Did I collect more? It was getting worse. Did I ride more forward? It was getting worse. Did I go out to the countryside? It was getting worse. Whatever I did was just going down. On top of that, eventually he started to cough. Then I had different veterinarians there and body workers, and none of them could find a reason for that. So he was coughing a lot, but the lung was pretty free, at least when we listened to it. And still, his access to air, basically, and the performance level was going down. Didn't make sense. Eventually, I was desperate enough to start learning osteopathy myself, also for helping this horse. And what also happened next was that he got, I hope you can see that here on this picture, on top of the cabeçon, he was wearing a fly mask, and from that fly mask, he got these pressure marks in his face. It was just a new mask with had a neoprene ending, for sitting properly, because the normal fly mask was this clet that we all know. He was always taking down, and he had, as a youngster already, as a 3-year-old, he had a little accident where he was destroying one of his eyelids, so he needs a fly mask in summer. And this fancy new fly mask was, after 24 hours, leaving these marks on his face that always looked like he had an accident with a serrator or an abusive rider. None of that is true. But still, something was wrong. So this is also not normal, that just from this little bit of pressure, the horse or the whole system is so sensitive that he's reacting. So what happened next was that I was learning osteopathy, and when we had a module about the head and about cranio, I was doing my homework and working on his head, and was simply what happened was that these hollow spaces behind the eyes, they opened up. And a lot of shit was running out of his nose, and that was a turning point where he suddenly didn't cough so much anymore, and he also could start to find a little bit more energy in the work yet. Would have been a stretch to say that everything went better from here on, but at least things started to change, and that was a good thing. Due to his coughing, I was also, of course, consulting a veterinarian and consulting a body worker next to myself. I wanted to have someone who was finished with their education already, just for, always better to have also a couple of different eyes on your horses, because with your own horses, you are always biased. You are biased through your biography, you are biased through the tools you are having, and maybe you don't have all the tools you needed. The tools I had at that point of time, that was academic art of riding, and the tools I also had or started to have was osteopathy and cranium. And especially after the moment where, all the slime was running out of his nose, and I could really see that my horse was getting so much better afterwards, I thought, okay, and now I have all the tools I need, and I can solve all issues with this. Eventually, we were moving to Norway. And when we were moving to Norway, Despino, it wouldn't be Despino if you wouldn't have had a new challenge for me. So we could leave the COPD behind us. Also due to the fact that in Norway it is common to feed haylage more often than dry hay, what is of course a good thing for everybody, for all horses that are suffering from COPD. You are simply taking down the pressure, the dust the horse is exposed to. Very simple. That, of course, is helping for a COPD horse, right? So, so he was feeling much better. He was also moving a little bit better. But still, we had a certain amount of issues. For example, that he didn't want to be touched from strangers. For example, that he was often a little, not lame, but unclean, falling over the right shoulder very often in walk and in trot, and having issues with the canter. And I was trying to solve that with the tools I already had. And the tools I had was, as I said, osteopathy and training. And in training, I was working on his straightness and I was working on his movability, also on his collectability. And I was trying to solve the issue of building up strength, especially with bending the haunches, with school hold, with piaffe, with a little bit of terre-terre. And with in the osteopathy part, I was working a lot on his thoracic sling. I was working on the shoulder movability. I was trying to do some exercises for strengthening his core strength. And I thought that most days I had quite a lot of success with that, or not. Also, I'm a skilled enough rider that I could solve the problem every day again when I was sitting on top of him. But the problems were also reoccurring. So the problem of falling over the shoulder, for example, was constantly reoccurring. What was giving us a real breakthrough then was that was in my osteopathy education. I also got the tools for doing a metabolism cure. That was how we called it. I'm not telling you how it works because when I'm looking at it from today's perspective, I can say I am happy that the horse is surviving, was surviving with what I did there. That is a little bit beyond all science and everything that we should do to a species like a horse. But it also has a pro side because what it was working with is it was based on natron. And what natron is, of course, doing is that it is pressing down the stomach acid, right? So what I was doing very unawarely was not working on his metabolism, but working on the gastric ulcer that he must have had since I met him, since the day I met him. So when I'm looking at it from today's perspective, I can see all the signs: the turning of the inside, the turning in of the left front leg, the drop of the chest, the being so angry and protecting his body, especially when somebody comes into the box, because usually people are coming into the box from the left side, and then on the left side is the stomach, and the horse is so angry then and doesn't want to get touched there. And I simply haven't had the tools. I simply haven't had the tools to see that there is an underlying pain issue. Also, the dragging of the hind feet is, of course, a part of gastric ulcer. And what we very often see is that stomach horses are also developing a problem with the lung because they are breathing flatter. And due to not filling up the lung volume completely, they will eventually also get a problem in the lung. You know, they are just not. In German, we are saying belüften. So even when they are cantering, they are breathing very flat, and then they're keeping this lung problem on top of it. That doesn't mean that when your horse has COPD, you can cure it with a stomach treatment. It just means if your horse has COPD and you are doing everything for working on it, it might also make sense to have a look at the stomach, because you might find there an underlying cause that is interconnected with the COPD. There's also, but only treating the stomach will not solve your lung problem. And yeah, the other way around. It's just something that is interesting to keep in the back of your mind. The moment, this is an osteopathy picture from him. The moment we got the stomach under control, he could also start bending his haunches more beautiful. And today he is showing a very beautiful canter without any problems. And also having endurance. And now he's over 20. Yeah, we can't say it's a young horse anymore. And all the problems that I had during his education have simply disappeared. And that is quite impressive. And that is showing me again and again that it's often this multidisciplinary approach that we need for leveling it. Then 2 years ago, we had a regression. So suddenly the horse was getting bad again or worse again. And I had no idea why. So the stomach was under control. but he was again starting to cough a little bit. He was starting to get stiff. He didn't get really forward, the whole old story. Some kind of something in the system was out of control. And what was I doing? I was falling, of course, back to the tools that I already had. So I was looking again at the horse with the lenses that were on my eyes, and then I knew already the stomach had a big influence. So the first thing I did was contacting a vet and working on his stomach, and that was making things better but not good. And I still felt during the training my horse was somehow off. And then eventually I started to figure out that when I was treating him, the horse was enjoying the treatment. It was really enjoying the treatment, like you can see on the picture. And he had more or less perfect living conditions. But each time after the treatment, the horse was worse than before, at least for a few days. And that was strange. That was also not supposed to be this way. So I was again starting to doubt myself and starting to ask questions until I started to study nutrition. And I found out that in our own hay that we were making here on the farm, simply due to the fact that we had a very dry spring, there was basically no protein in the feed, or a very low amount of protein in the feed. And that low amount of protein was basically too little for him to keep all body functions running. And when the horse has to decide if he is surviving or if he is building up muscles, then the organism is deciding for surviving. And then it's basically nothing left anymore for performance. And then the horse will show all the old issues that we had before. So the moment I leveled his nutrition, the horse was back into performance again. That was a very easy solution. And I'm telling you the story because I would like to motivate you to look at your horses with different pairs of glasses, and to not only look at things from one perspective. And just because that has been an issue before, it doesn't mean that that it is the same issue next time something goes off. And that is always what I'm trying also to tell my students. I'm always saying, also the academy students who are working with me one-on-one, I'm always trying to explain them that we have to look at things multidisciplinary, and horses can have lice and fleas at the same time. So we can have, for example, gastric ulcer and arthritis at the same time. We can have a problem with the nutrition and parasites at the same time. It doesn't have to be one of these things, but if I'm only looking at it with one perspective, then I have a tendency to believe that it is just one issue that I need to fix again and again, over and over. And then we are coming to very into very interesting settings, that we are suddenly trying to cure gastric ulcer with transitions in trot, or malnutrition with canter periods or something. So they're all kinds of crazy things are happening. Or we have a horse that is simply suffering from a lack of movement, and the owner is trying to cure it with a handful of pills. That's neither working. So what I'm trying to motivate you on is that we are looking at from different perspectives and different domains, and then we are getting a better picture. Cook, I even made a slide for that, because the question is always, what is trainable and what is not trainable? And is the horse getting better with training? Yes, continue. Is the horse unchanged or worse with training? Then maybe training is not the issue. However good you are as a rider, then we might have a look at the other areas. Is the horse sleeping? Is the horse, how is it with housing? How is it with pain? How is it with the different areas of the 5-domain model? We have been lately talking a lot about the 5-domain model here on the channel. We have also been talking about the pain signals very much about on this channel. And even if the horse is not showing pain signals or not obvious pain signals during work or after work, I would like you to do a little test. And that test is get the horse untagged after work. And then have a look at the horse. How long does it take him or her to show calming signals after taking off everything? So how long does it take until the horse is chewing, licking, maybe clapping the eyes, maybe yawning, maybe, rolling. And then it's always good, or basically the earlier the horse is showing that, the better it is. Because the higher the stress level is, the more the horse is suppressing communication. Meaning it will take much longer. And we have been doing this test among students, and also other teachers have been doing this test. And there were sometimes time frames from up to 10 or 15 minutes that it took the horse to start with blinking or yawning or just turning the head, doing something, showing some kind of of being vulnerable, and showing just some signs of relaxation and getting off guard again. And that is that is a bad sign, or that should continue motivating you to continue searching, basically. Then I have another. Oh, there I've forgotten to adapt the slide. Then I have another case study for you. That is Vilja. And as you can see, is when I'm doing things like this, then I usually try to not speak about my students. I am showing you some of my own horses. I think that's just politer, because we all find something when we are looking in our own backyard or having a look at our own nose. Not only mistakes we are doing, but also issues we are having with our horses. And Vilja, you might know from the groundwork book. I actually bought him as a youngster for the groundwork book also, and he was untouched when I got him. That was also the reason why I bought him. He's a cold blood trotter. He was 4 years old, completely untouched, never been on the tracks. And kind of okay movements. Was not in the very best shape, but yeah, that is also normal when a horse is 4 years old and has a lack of movement and a lack of training. And I thought, let's see, looks like a healthy horse, was moving fine. This was some of the pictures from that I bought him. I can only explain it like that. I liked his face. He has very beautiful eyes. It was now not the magnificent exterior that I bought him for, but I bought him for the fact that he was 4, that he was untouched, he was available, he appeared to be healthy, and he didn't have any kind of trauma or bad experience from being on the tracks. And I really wanted a cold blood trotter. I've always been in love with cold blood trotters. I still am. And in many perspectives, Vilja was a very, very good choice, because Vilja is a really good friend. He's a really, really good friend. And Vilja is working with Vilja and training Vilja is pure luck. We can't say anything else about that, because he is so friendly, he's so motivated, and each time he's doing something right or something felt good, he's standing next to me and says, so it's just very, very funny. And I had a look at this picture and thought, doesn't look so good, but with a little bit of training, we will get that under control. Probably a little bit of stomach feeling. Remember again, pain. Remember again, the glasses we are looking through, right? The glasses we are looking through is always what we see, what we can see already, where we are aware of, and everything that we haven't that we don't have on our map yet. Everything we haven't discovered yet, that is not in our tool case. That is also things that we don't see yet. Very simple. So when I was looking at that picture, I thought, okay, we see his chest is sunken down a little bit, probably some kind of stomach pain, also maybe a little bit of parasites when we are looking here at the hanging stomach, definitely a lack of movement, definitely maybe also a little bit of undernutrition or malnutrition, but otherwise a normal youngster. He was moving okay, gaits looked clean. I thought we'd give it a go. And he was developing fine. So that was a year or 1.5 years later. He was developing fine, and we had a lot of fun, but some things were off. For example, he had problems with the shoulder in on the right side. But as I am, or also as I that was also my upbringing. A part of me has always learned to first, you might know this famous Neindorf quotation where saying, if the horse is doing a mistake, look at yourself for finding the reason, and if you don't find it, look better. So search deeper, look at yourself, find the reason why your horse can't do it. It's not the horse's fault. So I have been working on optimizing my body work and everything else on the right lead for a very long time. What we also did was we were leveling his nutrition, we were adjusting his training plan. We were sending him into the mountains for a lot of free range movement. And he was building up muscles. He was mentally getting more open, and so on and so on. So we were really on a good track. He was also doing beautiful quarter ins. We were working a lot with transitions on the lunge, shoulder in, quarter in, walk, trot, lift up of the chest. And as you can see, the buildup of muscles, when we are just comparing the pictures here, that was fine. That went very quick. What was not so quick was, or what made me a little hesitant was that each time when I was asking for trot, his tail was moving a lot, and also his mouth was changing a little bit. That was not so cool. At the start of his education, he always was running away when I was asking for trot. So it took him a very long time to be able to show a steady trot, and he always had problems stretching forward down. That was the point where I thought, okay, this is not normal. A 4-year, 5-year, 6-year-old horse should totally be able to just have a forward trot and a forward canter without freaking out. So we didn't manage. With however much I trained, we didn't manage. And I have been continuing to search, and he did not show any signs of clear lameness. So therefore, we have been searching on different ends. We have had a look at his stomach. Yeah, there was something the first time we looked. But after treatment, there was nothing anymore. So the second and the third scoping that we had, nothing. We also x-rayed his spine. We had x-rays of the neck. We had x-rays of the back. I was actually thinking, I don't have a picture of that sadly in the presentation, but he's showing a very strange pattern around his chest bone and also on his lower neck in his fascia. So I was thinking, maybe ECVM. ECVM is pretty popular right now. Maybe ECVM. Let's have a look. Nothing. Problem with the right bending, always falling out with the hind quarter. If I got the styling correct in front and if I got the styling correct in behind, the horse was doing counter styling in the hand. So I wouldn't have been surprised to find something in the spine. Nothing. Then we did a bending test, and I will never forget the discussion that I had with my veterinarian here on the riding arena, because he said, I don't see something. The horse is fine. The horse is fine. Walk, trot, the horse is absolutely fine. Said, yeah, I neither see something, but I see that he's sending signs of discomfort. I would like to know. I simply would like to know what the hell is going on. So we took a bending test, and out of 4 legs, 3 were positive. So he is lame on subtle lame, a low-grade lameness, on 3 legs, basically the right hind leg and both front legs. And then we x-rayed him, and then we found out that all distal joints are showing a genetic degeneration. That is very sad. That is something that whatever kind of management we can't make disappear. But what we can do is we can adjust the training schedule. We can also adjust our goals, because what will most likely not happen is that he will ever be capable of carrying me. But what he but with just adjusting the goals and just saying, okay, the goal is not anymore to make a riding horse. The goal is to work a chronic patient or pain patient on the best level that he can be. And we are trying to create or keep movability as long as possible. And we are trying to have a comfortable life for him. Yeah, something we need to do with the horses if we have them, if we don't want them to be a garden ornament. And something we need to do also with the horses if we don't want them to decrease from there on, because from doing nothing, they will neither get better. So some kind of management, some kind of training we need to do. And this is where we are today. I can't make his issues disappear, but I can adjust the training. I can adjust his living conditions. I can make sure that the padding for him in the open shelter is even a little bit softer, that he can easily go up and down. I can make sure that he's getting enough movement, and I can have a look at his face and see where are his borders in training, as where is he enjoying the training and where isn't he. And I have to say goodbye from the idea of performing with him and have to embrace the challenge of simply keeping him movable. That was not so good for my ego, but is simply the better decision for this horse. And this again is a very personal story. Is a story from one of my horses, because where we can say again, it's always different approaches that we need to have a look at when we are facing issues, and it's often important. Anja would say fufu. It's often important when we have a fear of finding out, or we are often guided by the fear of finding out things, to look at it closely. It's not always the end of the world. Sometimes we are beyond the point of of return. But that doesn't mean that the horse is suddenly less valuable. It just means we have to adapt our goals, and it just means we need different tools for management as we thought we might need. And usually that's a change for the better. So, and I hope out of these two stories, it is getting clear why the road that we are taking here at Equidemia is the road that we are taking, because this is simply the road that has been leading me to success. And maybe I'm sitting here in 2 years or 3 years, also when the new masterclass is starting now, I will also learn from other disciplines again. I will learn from fantastic speakers there. Maybe then our road to success looks a little bit different than it looks today. But this is basically the steps I'm going through today when I'm looking at a rehabilitation case or on any horse. I'm first looking at an analysis of posture biomechanics, and I'm looking at how is the horse standing. Very important. We don't judge a horse in movement, or we don't judge the health status of a horse in how can we shape it, how can we frame it, how can we make it perform. But we are, when we are looking at health issues, we're looking at a horse, or on in which state is this horse. We are looking at the horse in how is it resting? Is it resting at all? Or is it offloading? Is it having a proper proper sleeping rhythm, for example? How is it interacting in the group? But just the simple posture in when the horse is resting, basically not eating, not playing in the group, but just just standing somewhere. Are the front legs straight? Are they in behind? Are they showing some kind of compensation patterns? Are all four legs under the horse? Is the horse standing square? What what posture is the horse choosing? Also, when we are looking at gait analysis, we are not looking at the gaits. I mean, it's of course important that we can see, especially as a riding teacher, if the horse is in performance, showing a good walk, a good trot, a good canter, and also how can we work with that. But if we are thinking about health, so before performance, a gait analysis is always done without a rider, without shaping, without interference of the human. We just want to have a look at how is the horse. If the horse can choose itself, what is it choosing? And only when we can see normal, we can also see abnormal, because we see so many horses with abnormal patterns. And then we can look at the outer appearance, of course, at the fur, gastric diseases, at fascia. And from there on, we can start to change things or to suggest things. We can suggest to get a vet involved, for example, for doing x-rays on one or the other leg, or on whatever, whatever we can only do with veterinarian assistance. We can adjust the ration. We can have a look at the 5-domain model and have a look at the ethology and see, do we have a training issue here? Is the horse not feeling well framed, not feeling well taught, basically? Are we forcing the horse? Are we forcing the horse to do things that it doesn't understand? That is just building up mental pressure. Are we forcing the horse into a frame that is not doable for the pony? So if we are asking a 4-year-old, for example, for doing a piaffe, that will be not a setup for success. If we are asking a horse that doesn't know the outside aids for doing a quarter in, that will not be a success. But if we are having a well-prepared horse and suddenly it can't follow the aids anymore, then we are allowed to look into different domains. Just had this discussion today, very interesting, with a friend of mine, with a colleague of mine, where we are saying, what comes first? What is more important? Is it the living conditions or is it the training? And the clear answer is yes. I don't know. But at least this is my experience. If we have shitty living conditions and if we are having a horse that is suffering from pain, the most perfect training won't change that. And the other way around, if we have very good living conditions and a pain-free horse, they are often compensating just bad training, not abusive training, just average, not so nice training, not such a talented rider. They are usually compensating that quite well. Ideally, of course, both aspects are going hand in hand, and both aspects are adding each other. We are having good living conditions and a good nutrition, and we have a healthy horse, and then we are also aware of learning theory, for example. So we are good pedagogues. We can easily reach our horses. We have a good idea about training planning, or we have a trainer who can do that. We have a good idea about monitoring the heartbeat, for example, stabilization exercises, sensomotoric training. Or we have in my case, a dressage trainer who is using then dressage exercises, also for creating more intensity, for building up the horse, properly, basically. Then, of course, that would be ideal. Yeah, that was basically the story I wanted to share with you for tonight. Just again, showing you the slide of the 5-domain model, just because it is so important that we are internalizing that all these different areas have to cooperate and none of them is standing alone. And in each area, we always have to, sometimes we are our own worst enemy because we are so biased simply by our biography. And if you're interested in joining us at Equidemia, that are the 2 roads that we are offering for success. You can join the membership for yourself with your own horse if you are searching for coaching with your own horse. Or if you're interested in professionalizing, you have basically still today for signing in for a spot for the Academia Masterclass. It's our first round. We are all super excited, and we are starting on Friday evening with the first walk around. And the masterclass, I'm very proud of this project because I'm not doing it alone. I have managed to find fantastic speakers from science and from all different fields of horse life, because what we are trying to do there is doing exactly that. We are trying to change the glasses. We are trying to build up a multidisciplinary approach. Because you will also often find out if we are really having a horse that is dealing with pain, it's often like you're pulling down, you're pulling off different layers, and you're starting somewhere, and then you find something else, and you're taking care of this, and then you find something else. And just today, I was outside talking to the girls and said, if you once see it, you can't unsee it. And that is true for all areas. If you once see nutritional issues, you can't unsee it. If you once see hoof issues, you can't unsee it. If you once see something in the legs, you can't unsee it. And the more of these puzzle pieces we as a professional are mastering, the better we can help our students with their horse. Because for a private horse owner, that is not doable, and that is also not their job. Their job is having fun with their horses. Our job as a professional is having a proper scientific base for guiding you into practical work without doing harm, and in best case even with helping you and your horse to just be happy. That would be enough. Just be happy. And therefore, out of my experience that I was just talking about tonight with you, that is the reason why we have created the masterclass in the way the masterclass is created. We are bringing different puzzle pieces together. We are working with a multidisciplinary approach, and we are trying to create more professionals like me that are having this interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary education. And if you want to join, this is your chance. And if you don't want to join, maybe the membership is for you and you can see us there. Questions? Ask. This is your moment. Otherwise, I will say goodbye for tonight. I am seeing one or the other tonight at the Academy meeting for the competence call. And otherwise, I am seeing you back here on Facebook. I am not sure, maybe next week, Monday, but then I am on vacation, and it will get very silent on social media for a couple of weeks until I'm back in the middle of May and do a check-in with you then. So then I would say thank you for listening, and thank you for tonight. See you soon. Bye.